Hi, so I just recently got back into uploading to my channel, but I haven't done a wrap up yet. So I'm hoping I still know somewhat how to do this and have semi-coherent thoughts on the books that I've read recently. So bear with me, we'll see how this goes. So the first book I read right at the beginning of summer is Sawkill Girls, and I'm really hoping I remember what my thoughts were about this. So basically this follows these three girls. Let me try and remember everyone's name, which I won't because I'm an 83-year-old woman whose memory is crap. So Marion, she is the new girl and she is just moving to this island called Sawkill Island. Zoe lives on the island and her best friend has just vanished, and it's kind of a pattern of vanishing girls that has been going on for years and years, and she is semi-investigating that. And Val is like this mysterious, beautiful girl with like a dark secret, and she has connections to the girls that have been vanishing. So it was very much my kind of vibe. I love teenage girls and mystery and like atmosphere, this creepy island. And I did enjoy this, but the pacing was really off for me. I felt at some points that like there wasn't enough detail, but then it also dragged at the same time. Like, it's quite long for like a YA book. It's like 450 pages or something like that, which is quite long for your average YA novel. And I just felt it maybe didn't quite bridge the gap between modern story and terminology and kind of ancient atmospheric-y setting. Maybe that's just me. I think this worked for a lot of other people, but like maybe not for me. I think I loved the concept, but just the execution was a little bit off. But I still read it. I think I still enjoyed it. I just gave it 3 stars instead of like 4 or 5. But yeah. I then read The Only Story by Julian Barnes, and this follows, oh my god, this is dusty. And this follows a 19-year-old who begins a relationship with a woman in her 40s, I believe, or she's a lot older than he is. And it's kind of about navigating that relationship and kind of how that affects their family, their friends, and their kind of future romantic relationships. And it's kind of about, it's called The Only Story, and it's about how love is the only story. And in a way, the kind of message of the novel is that no one can ever know what love is, basically, or have a true definite definition of love that everyone can relate to. And he kind of has this, the character in the novel, he has this notebook full of quotes that everyone has ever said about love, and he kind of crosses them out when he knows them not to be true, and in the end he only ends up with like 1 or 2 quotes. And so it's interesting, it's about how kind of the pursuit to define love is kind of fruitless, whereas that doesn't make the novel feel pointless. It kind of enriches the novel more because you realise that, you know, kind of cliche, it's not about the bigger picture, it's about the details and like your own experience of it, and no matter how much you read about love and try to prepare yourself for it, you will never quite be prepared for it, and your story in itself will be unique, and it will be your own story. It will be the only story. Look at me go. I then read Picnic at Hanging Rock because my best friend bullied me into it, and now she doesn't know. I wanted to read it anyway because it's always been on my radar, because I wanted to see the film, because I've seen a lot of screenshots of the film, and I know that the film inspired a lot of the imagery seen in The Virgin Suicides, which is also a film that I like. So I was interested in the story, and it's about teenage girls and in Australia at a boarding school, and they go for a picnic at Hanging Rock. No spoilers here. And basically 3 of the girls go missing, and the novel is sorry about what happens to them, and that's probably what people find really infuriating about the novel, because you're reading it and you expect some kind of twist or climax or like answer at the end, like what happened to these girls, and you never get that. Like, that's not even the point of the novel. If you read this being like, what's the twist, that you're reading the wrong book. It's about how that tragedy, they describe it in the book as like a stain, this tragedy, and how it kind of filters out to the other people at the school. So how it affects the headmistress, how it affects the girls left behind, how it affects the man who goes looking for the missing girls. It's really interesting and it's really atmospheric, and I did enjoy it, and I will recommend it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the film. I then read Princess Jellyfish, which is a really cute manga, and yeah, I just wanted like something cute and fun for the summer, and just something really light that I would enjoy. And it's just about these 5 or 6 girls who live in this little apartment in Japan, and they describe themselves as, what is the word? Fujoshi? I'm like butchering that pronunciation completely. Basically, it's this little apartment for girls that are anxious and are fans of stuff, and they just don't like the outside world and interacting with people, like same. It's kind of about their day-to-day life, and then this mysterious fashionable woman comes into their lives, and then she kind of is not what she seems, and blah blah blah. It's really cute, really fun, and I think if you're not quite sure if manga is for you, this is quite a good starting place, even though it has quite a lot of terms that you wouldn't recognize, I guess, if you're not into manga. But I wasn't into manga really like much, and I didn't know what they meant, but they has like a glossary and like it defines it in the text, so it's pretty accessible, and I wouldn't let that scare you. So it's really cute and fun. I then read Dare Me by Megan Abbott, which was so good. This is being turned into an HBO show, and I am so excited. I think it really like will be really, really good. So this is about Addie and Beth, and Beth is the captain of their cheerleading team, and then one day they get this new coach, who I've already forgotten the name of, Coach French, and she comes in and basically tries to kind of shake up the group. So she says there's going to be no captains anymore, everyone is one hive mind, we're all a team. And like Beth doesn't really react to this, but you can tell, Addie can tell as her best friend, this is really kind of cut quite deeply, and there's this kind of unspoken rivalry, and it's about what Beth will do to kind of get back to the top, and also kind of all these whisperings going on, and it's just very compelling the way it's written, and it's an atmosphere that puts you on edge. I was kind of reading it like, ooh, what is happening? And then halfway through the novel there's a murder, and then there's mysterious circumstances around that, and it's just very, very compelling, very, very well written also. And I just like, I read this in like a day and a half. I was just so addicted to it, and it's kind of about teenage girls and what they're capable of when you have that hunger, and it's about, you know, spending that time being semi-bored but also wanting something so much, wanting something to happen or wanting something that you can't have, and this boredom and hunger and how that mixes to create kind of a deadly combination in a sense. But it was really good. I then read Normal People by Sally Rooney, which a lot of people have spoken about, and I have notes about it on my phone because I am prepared. So for me, this kind of cut through the noise about the romanticization of youth. So a lot of books that I read about high school or about uni, they're like, they have their problems, but sure, they kind of end kind of fluffy and happily. People are like finding out who they are and finding their people and finding where they are in the world and everything like that. So this follows Marianne and Connell, who are in high school together, but Marianne is kind of an outcast, popular, not popular, and Connell is more popular, and they kind of have a class difference where Connell is more low class, Marianne is more high class, and people think she's snobby, blah blah blah. And so they kind of start a relationship kind of in high school, and no one really knows about them, and then the novel follows them as they kind of are drawn back together. So they meet back up kind of at uni, and then later on in life, and it's about how they change as people, and how their friends change, and how kind of they find each other, they keep going back to each other essentially. But what I liked about this novel, it's kind of a novel about finding yourself, and finding yourself in a sense that isn't positive. So maybe you find yourself and you don't like what you see, and about how that affects you, and how the process of finding yourself, how that can be lonely and how that can be scary. I also like that their story is clearly not over once the book is finished. Obviously it's a book about them continually coming back to each other after a period of time, so you get the sense that once the story is finished, it's not over, and they will come back together again in another point in time. And I like that, you know, that books sometimes they're like, you know, a book is kind of, you begin the book, the event happens, the story happens, and then it's neatly wrapped up at the end. And I liked that, you know, life isn't just a series of events that happen and they're neatly wrapped up. Life is like a series of threads, and some are longer than others, some are shorter. And like in Normal People, it's about these two people, and that thread is continually just running through them and their lives, and it will continue to keep going. I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense, but I really enjoyed it. It was really well written, the characters felt real and raw, and it was kind of sad but also in a refreshing way, and yeah, I would recommend it. I then read Monster, which again, another manga. It's basically about this doctor, and he's kind of facing a lot of pressure because he's like the best doctor at his hospital, it's more of a hospital, it's not surgery. He's the best doctor there, and he's going to be promoted, but there's like all this politics of like, you know, he's like supposed to be focusing on the research, whereas he just wants to save lives and blah blah blah. So there's this controversy where, you know, he's supposed to operate on this child, but then they bring in the mayor and they're like, you have to operate on the mayor because like the mayor's more important, and he's like, no, I'm here to save lives. And so he kind of makes that decision to go against what his bosses are telling him to do, and this is essentially the consequences of that decision. But really, really compelling, really well written, and just, yeah, I would recommend this a lot. And the last book I read in kind of July-ish, maybe like beginning of August, it's kind of the most recent book that I've read, is The Song of Achilles, which has been on my radar for a while because earlier this year I read Circe by the same author, but this is the book that she wrote before Circe, but they're not completely linked, I don't think. I mean, they're both based on Greek mythology, but it's not like a sequel situation. And I really enjoyed this. I mean, I love Percy Jackson. Anyone who's been watching this channel for a while will know how much I'm into mythology and legends. This is really well written, and yeah, just like the angst and the love story and the tension and the war, like all of it was really detailed and really beautifully kind of laid out and described. And I just, yeah, it was a world that I just loved to disappear in for like a couple of hours. You know, every time I came to read this, I was like a world that I wanted to come back to. So if you're interested in Greek mythology, there's probably no reason why you wouldn't like this. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Also, if you like kind of romance, but like war and tense romance and like angst, this might be for you. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, really well written, and just, yeah, like I said, it's a world that I love to go back to, you know, these gods and curses and spells and sacrifices and, you know, all that jazz is that's my thing, so I enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it was coherent. I haven't done reviews in a while, so I might have been a bit rambly, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!